Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Feeling very colorful in my virtual background today. Hope you enjoy it. It is our first week of October classes, you guys. So for some of you, this might be the first video you're getting because you're just starting with us here in the month of October. You missed September, that's okay. You can dive right in October, and we're happy that you're here. You're going to get a video every single week from me telling you all about what's happening in your classes and any housekeeping things that we need to know, like about the studio. So every time you get this video, make sure you watch the section of the video that has to do with your kids' class, and you watch the little housekeeping section. It's really all that you need to know, although you are always welcome to watch all of it. Sound good? You can catch it live on YouTube, or you can use the timestamps in your email, in the video description, on the Facebook page. You can get it from lots of different places, right? There's also, for those of you who are not in love with video as a way to get your information, you can always look, I do Cliff Notes. So I type up notes from the video and I post them at the bottom of the email and in the Facebook group. So if you're one that just wants to scan the bare minimum information, that's where you'll get it. Let's talk about these classes. So my preschool classes this month, first thing I'm going to tell my parents for the month of October, pay attention to your class schedule. For the preschool classes, remember, those are ones that, sorry, love that. Look, my son got player of the week in Eagle football. Yay. Okay, sorry, that was exciting. I love those kinds of notifications. All right, those of you who are preschool families, remember your class only meets 3 times a month. So you always have an off day. This month, you're going to have an off day, but it may not be the last one of the month because there are so many days off school for the big kids. So the Monday class, the Friday class especially, you guys, if we can take the day off when the big kids are off school, we try to do it. Can't always, but we try to. So you can always check your schedule in a couple different places. We talked about this last month. You can find it in the original class listing where you registered. You can also find it inside your Sawyer account, and the instructions are on the website for current students. So just scroll to the footer of the web page and click for current students, and it'll show you how to do that. And you can watch these videos because we'll always remind you in these videos if you have an off day. Sound good? All right, so this is an on week for every single one of our preschool classes. It's week 1 of October. If you'll remember, in September, almost all of our lessons had to do with dots and circles. Well, this month, they all have to do with lines. And so we're going to be looking at the art of Mondrian, and we're going to be reading books that all have to do with lines. And so we're going to read Lines That Wiggle, which is a beautiful, wonderful, adorable book. Not a lot of words, but great pictures and illustrations, little monsters. And then we're going to read The Perfect Square by Michael Hall. And then, which I love this book, and you can kind of tell because it's falling apart here in Liberty. And we're going to read Elmer, which is the story of the patchwork elephant. And this introduces our pattern lesson, which starts November, because we talk all about patterns and the art of Matisse in November, and Elmer is a pattern. All right, so we're going to be reading those books. We're also going to be working with the media of the month, which is clay. And we're going to be making some clay bowls. This will be one of those projects that takes all 3 class periods to complete. We use, and I'm going to show this in a bunch of our videos today, we use an air dry clay. Looks like this. And it is tougher to squish than Play-Doh. So for our young kids, this is so good for strengthening. This is not the size of ball of clay that we would give a preschooler because my hands barely can squish it and their hands are smaller. So we will give them much smaller amounts of clay so that they can be successful in squishing it. They will be making little kind of trinket bowls or small clay bowls. We're going to do some open-ended just exploration with clay to warm it up, or Play-Doh in just kind of 3D work. And then they will take their clay and squish it flat into a slab. We do have rolling pins that they can play with, but for a lot of them, just using their fingers will work better. Because it is line month, we will press little bits of yarn and string into our clay bowl to show lines. This is another way to work that line lesson into our curriculum. And when they're all done with it, and theirs will probably be a little bit more round than mine is, but maybe not. I don't know. When they're all done, we will take this with all its yarn bits in it, and we will press it into the bottom of one of our plastic bowls, and it will dry just like this. And that's what gives it that concave shape. Yeah, that's what will give it that kind of concave bowl shape. We will paint the flip side of it in subsequent weeks, and we will clear coat the yarn side. So they'll work with clay on their projects this week, or well, actually the whole month. And then they also get to explore all the brand new creative stations that will be in the preschool classroom. So exciting month ahead for our preschool artists. Our K through 3rd multimedia classes are going to be doing clay as well. So I'm just going to kind of keep this thing out. Clay is not my favorite, you guys. I am a 2D artist, but I appreciate the benefits of it. So my hands are a mess and I'm not real keen on it, but it washes off. Clay, and in the air dry sense, it works the same way as kiln fire. We don't have a kiln, that's why we use air dry clay. If we were the type of studio that did a lot more clay, I would invest in kilns. But not only is the cost of a kiln really high, the cost of insurance if you have a kiln is higher. It's just not worth it to me. Air dry works for us since we really only do clay about once a year. So we're going to have our K through 3rd grade classes be making pinch pots. You can see the picture here. Once the pinch pots are done, we will have them scent, color, and pour wax to make a candle, which is a fun, very useful application for their art. These are some examples from previous years. Their first week of classes is simply playing with clay. So we're not going to make anything to keep this week in K through 3rd grade classes. We want them to get familiar with the medium. We're going to teach them how to make a pinch pot, which is, those of you who don't remember from elementary school, thumb in the middle, and then your hands squish all the way around, and you work to open up the sides of your bowl until it is beautiful and open, and we can use our slip and we can smooth it. You can see all the little textures that they can make. All of those things are things we're going to play with. Think of it like if you were to sketch or brainstorm first before you make your final art. It's basically what we're doing, except for there's no sketch. It's all just playing. When we're all done with our class this week, we will squish our balls of clay, put it back in the bag, and it will be ready for us to go next week. In week 2 is when we'll make our bowl that we will actually keep. Okay. Now, I have a terrible picture of this, and it's dumb because it's me. This is from a live video that I did on Facebook. You can find it. And our 4th and 5th grade and homeschool classes, they're going to be making pinch pots as well. But theirs are adorned with more on the outside, either as a mermaid or a dragon. And so it takes it to the next level when we have to join clay together. Every single one of the scales that are pictured in that are scored. They're like scratched with a skewer or a fork or a toothpick to kind of rough up the sides. And then there is slip, which is a watered down glue, gross, watered down gluey clay. Nancy made this all on Saturday. But we're going to take the slip and use it as glue with our 2 rough edges. Think of it like Velcro, and that's what attaches everything on our bowl. That is a lot of joining. It's a lot of sculpting and a lot of joining that these kids are going to have to do in order to get all of their scales and appendages on their bowl and make their either dragon or mermaid bowls. What's also fun about this is giving all that kinds of little nooks and crannies. We can do some fun painting techniques like dry brushing, metallic paints, and fun things with their bowl. So theirs do not turn into candles. Theirs will stay as trinket bowls. And then our 6th and 7th and 8th through 12th grade kiddos have a brand new project. So I don't have an example, but I do have a paper model. So I'm going to show you that as soon as I get my hands cleaned off. They are going to be doing slab building. So unlike the last 2 classes that I showed you that we're doing pinch pot building with their clay, these guys are going to do slab building, which means we will roll with rolling pins to the proper thickness. And then we're going to create a really great pencil holder. So once they've rolled their slabs, they will turn them into cylinders. This is my paper model. There will be a seam that they'll have to join using that same scoring and slipping method. These 3-ish cylinders will get joined together, again, with slipping and scoring for stability. And then they will be put on, I can't hold all of this, let's see, on a base not nearly this big, but I'm just holding a sheet of paper so you can see. And this becomes a pencil, paintbrush, utensil holder of some kind that they can use on their desk. So there's a lot of options for texture, for added details, for carving. It doesn't have to be a cylinder. You could roll it into a square. You could roll it into, you know, like a heart shape. So lots of options for their building. They will do a little bit of brainstorming today, but honestly, we probably want to get them into rolling their slabs this week, because it's going to take them 2 weeks to build. They will take 2 weeks to build their pencil holder, and then we'll take 2 weeks to paint them. The dragon bowls and the mermaid bowls also 2 weeks to build, 2 weeks to paint. My clay pinch pot bowls for the young ones, they're going to play this week, build next week, and then pour in week 3, and then paint in week 4. So it's a lot of very, very busy month with lots of stuff going on in multimedia classes. When we get to housekeeping, I'm going to talk a little bit about makeups in play month. Okay. All right, my creative explorations are also doing clay. It's a whole month of clay. This is the month. So they've got the history of clay, how clay is used, how clay is made, what clay is made of, different types of clay. They're going to be at the media table able to make whatever they want using the air dry clay. And then as we get later in the month, we'll set up the painting so that they can finish their air dry clay. We also have a still life invitation set up, but instead of drawing with the pencils and 2D, we're going to let them use plasticine clay. And it's almost a collage clay drawing method. We've done it in underwater camp. We've also done it for some of our special events and workshops where we've made small mosaics of clay instead of drawing. So it's a different way of creating a still life. They will have in their journal activity an opportunity to work on patterning. So on the outside of a vase or a vessel type of patterning, and then in our sensory area, because we'll have clay in the media area, in the sensory area we'll have Play-Doh. So it'll be another like 3D opportunity to play. For the vertical surface invitation, we're doing a giant acrylic painting because we'll already have the paints out to paint clay. Just seems like a good thing to already have out. We're going to do acrylics in one place, we might as well do acrylics in both. That's a collaborative project. It's not something that they take home, but they can work together as a team to create something really neat to keep in the studio. Just a note for you guys, make sure you wear old clothes to creative explorations because we do have that acrylic paint out. Drawing classes. I got to switch my gears here. Let me put all the clay away and grab all my drawing stuff. Now I don't have any journals to show you this month or right now because we haven't done any projects yet this month. Why am I out of focus? Weird. Maybe if I hold something up, will it focus on me? Oh well, you'll just have to see me out of focus. Hopefully it catches on that I'm still here. Maybe it's me. Nope. We're doing one of my favorite lessons, you guys, in Drawing 101. And that is charcoal. Oh, there we go. I'm back in focus. That is charcoal reductive drawings. So I want to show you a little bit of the charcoal that we're going to use as well as the subject. The theme for Drawing 101 this month is Halloween and spooky. Nothing is scary. I promise nothing is scary. But it is kind of a kind of a fun month. This is our like bat photographs that I have. And if you want some examples of previous lesson work, you're going to see that. I think it's scheduled to go out on Facebook. It's scheduled to go out on Facebook this afternoon. So you can see some of the example bat drawings from previous years. And then, of course, if you follow Instagram stories, we'll have this year's on Instagram stories. So we're going to use charcoal to do these bat drawings. We're drawing from photographic reference in our 101 class. And this is another chance for us to introduce the concept of values, of lights and darks in your drawings. And we're going to do it using all sorts of charcoal. Now, the kids have got to play with charcoal a little bit, but the more times we introduce it, the better. We use a bunch of different types of charcoal in the studio. This one here is called vine charcoal or willow charcoal. It's very breakable. All it is a burnt vine, nothing fancy added to it. It's very soft. It's kind of a mid-tone and kind of silvery. This is the one that we'll use to cover our entire paper. And then we will lift off or dig out the lighter parts of our drawing. And we can use 2 different erasers for that. This one here, which people like to stab pencils into, obviously. This one here is just kind of a standard eraser that you would see like a rubber eraser, right? This one here, maybe you're not familiar with. This is called a kneaded eraser, and it is sticky, and you can shape it, you can pull it, you can break it. You can put it back together after it's broken. The nice thing about a kneaded eraser is you can get whatever edge or size you need. So if you needed a really, really straight edge, you could shape kind of a razor edge and dig it out that way. You could also give yourself a point, do it this way. When it gets dirty, you just, like this one here, when it gets dirty, we usually wipe it off on a towel. I usually wipe it off with my jeans, but you can wipe it off. This one here, you just knead it back into itself and find a clean spot. So we'll have 2 different erasers for them to practice with when removing the vine or willow charcoal from their paper to get a lighter spot of their picture. So something like, let me find a good one, right? Like this guy. So we will cover the whole thing black, and then we'll use our eraser to dig out the lighter areas. We also have charcoal pencils, and that's really great for giving line work or detailed work in there. It's going to be darker than your vine charcoal because inside the pencil is a compressed charcoal, which is a mixture of burnt vines and some sort of binding agent. We also have compressed charcoal sticks, which are messier than a pencil. Pretty much the same stuff. They come in different hardness. They're not all the same, but pretty much the same stuff. This one just has wood around it, so it's not so messy. This one's really messy. And the last kind of charcoal that we have is called a white charcoal. And that's the one we'll put in our super duper bright highlights with. So you can see all these different tools. It's a different way of drawing because rather than putting darks in, we're going to remove lights out. I like it. And it'll be messy and sensory. Super fun. All right. So we'll do this drawing project with our 101s and then make sure that we send them home nice and clean-ish. My 102 kiddos, for the realistic people, are doing the exact same bat reductive drawing invitation because it's that good. So we're going to have 102 realistic do the same thing. Obviously, they have a lot more experience with this. If you've been with us, this is the 3rd year we've done this lesson. So if you've been with us in October, you've already done it. So more practice is better. This is really the only time of year we do reductive drawing like this as a lesson. So it's good to get it. They'll do this drawing and then I'm trying to think. They of course have more time. So they've got the whole extra half hour to get a little bit further on. This is a great drawing to revisit in the wildcard week because it takes a lot longer to do this style. And then my 102 comic, their entire month is themed on the figure. So they're gonna really drill down on the type of figure that they draw. So when we talk about figure, we're talking about a person, but it could be like an animalistic character as well, right? Because when cartooning doesn't have to be realistic. So they're going to break down like a comic figure, which is traditionally like 8 heads high. We're going to break down an anime figure and talk about maybe what in that style gets a little bit skewed. Eyes are bigger, heads are bigger, hands are, smaller, that kind of stuff. So they'll talk through that. And then they'll talk about cartooning, which think of like a cartoon body like Mickey Mouse or SpongeBob, right? Those kinds of cartoons are much broader. There's no rules, right? You can do anything you want in cartooning. So they'll also talk about like pushing the envelope and coming up with, different kinds of bodies. So what we're really trying to do with this group is, because it's such a character focused class, is to get them to define their characters and their style that they want to explore. Because our end goal at the end of the year, of course, is a comic book. So, all right. So that's the beginning of our bodies lesson. Next week, we're going to drill down with, I didn't bring it, some really super fancy mannequins. Not the boring wood ones that we used the first month, like super ones for super people. 103 classes. My anime or my comic and cartooning 103 classes their assignment, remember, this is a class that finishes a project. The 102s are doing lessons, working in their sketchbook, trying to solve problems and get better. 103s will do a little mini lesson, but ultimately they're a project focused class. But not project like, okay, everybody, we're all drawing this, but project like, I'm going to give you a prompt and a challenge and you're going to solve it. So their challenge this month is a villain showing its power. Pretty broad. Could be humanoid, could be animal, could be, but some sort of villain character. And we want it in an action pose showing power, showing like, we're going to talk through like symbolism, like how do you show that this creature or person is not good? How, what symbolisms do you use? How do you change your perspective? What colors do you use? That kind of stuff. So that's their problem to solve. I'm excited to see what they can come up with. It is not just a portrait, which is what we did last month. Like, so it's not just a portrait of your villain. I think there should be more to it than that. It should have a background. It should have some action in it. Miss Grace is excited to show how to make explosions. I know that she was super pumped about that. So I am thrilled to see what might come out of there. They're so talented, you guys. We're gonna have some good stuff. My 103 advanced realistic, because it is the Halloween month, we also wanted to kind of go in that imaginatory realm, but it's a realistic drawing. So they're going to be doing fantasy creatures, but we want them to be drawn realistically. So if you're drawing a dragon, as photoreal as you can get it. If you're drawing a unicorn, if you're drawing trying to think of some of the other like imaginative fantasy creatures. It can be something like from mythology. It can be something from stories. It can be something you've created, but we want it to be done in a way that it looks real. So not a cartoon, not in comic style, but in a realistic drawing style, a fantasy creature. And theirs does not have to be villain. It can be good if it wants. So I'm excited to see what they'll come up with. That's another problem that they will have to solve. Their media for the month, my comic kids always will work in ink, but my 103 advanced realistic artists, they get to like change their drawing media every month. So they're going to be working with colored pencils. It gives us an opportunity to show colored pencil techniques like layering, blending. I bought a whole bunch of new colorless blenders, which is a great tool for blending two colors of colored pencils together. That kind of stuff. All right, I'm gonna move over because you can't see. There we go. Couple of housekeeping things, and then I'm gonna let you go. First and foremost, our fall party is in the middle of the month. It's Sunday, October 15th from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. If you are coming, you need to RSVP because otherwise I don't have enough food for you. Okay? So I want to make sure that we have enough food for everybody. I usually go get hot dogs and then trying to think like chips and water, just something really easy. Trying to, like in the past we've done a chili cook-off, but we've gotten so big that really gets a little crazy. So no chili this year, just the hot dogs. And you BYOP, bring your own pumpkin. We have decorating stations set up for you as well as carving stations. It is not a drop-off event because there are sharp things everywhere. So you stay with your kids. The mess stays here too. That's the benefit. So you get to use our space and make a mess in our space instead of at home. For UIOP, if you want to. If you don't, you can just come to the party. It is 2 hours long. The busiest time is 4 o'clock, right when like everybody gets here. So yeah, just be aware, especially Liberty people. There's a lot of you. We're a small space. So dress accordingly because we will be outside because we don't all fit in the building. Right. It's for the kids who are enrolled and their families. So that means brother, sister, who you live with, right? Mom, dad. And I want to be sensitive there are different types of families. And so if you have like where you live, like your kiddo lives with 2 different households, I don't want to restrict which household can come or only one household can come. So if, we don't say like only 2 adults and 2 kids, like we don't say that. because I understand that there are all different types of families. But here's my caveat. Please be aware it is a free event. So, like, don't invite the cousins. Okay. Be nice to me. It's a lot for our staff to put on. It's their paid shift, so I'm paying them to be there. It's a lot of money to do the food. It's, you know, obviously the biggest expense is the payroll, but so just be cognizant of that. I don't want to have to charge. I don't want to have to give out like 5 tickets a family and say only, just it's gotten to the point where we're so big that we have to be able to say, we have to say these things. So yeah, don't invite the entire extended family. Thank you. If you have questions about that, you can reach out. Halloween classes are just about full. I think there's like 3 spots, maybe. If you want to come, go get signed up. And then the last thing, because I've had people ask, spring semester registration starts December 1st. We will allow those of you who are in classes to sign up first so you don't lose your spot. And then we'll open it up to everybody else. So just in case you were wondering, that's what happens. After December, we do it again. January through May is a whole nother semester, and we'll do sign up starting December 1st. I said I was going to talk a little bit about makeups in play month, so let me do that really quick before I hit my ending slide. Because we're using air dry clay, the first 2 weeks of clay month are the most important weeks, because we want you to get it built and then have it time to dry and then have it to paint. There's like some date logic that has to happen. So let's say you miss your Thursday class and then you come in Liberty on Wednesday, the next Wednesday, to do a makeup. Then you come in on Thursday, the next day, like to paint your clay. Well, it's only been 1 day, so it's not dry enough to paint. All right, so if you can come to class, great. If you can't come to class, talk to me about makeups, because we really want, just in that build to paint week, that first, like, we're done building and now we're painting week, we'd really like a week between those two. And our makeups don't always make it that way, just because of the way the dates work. So if you miss your Thursday class, we'd rather you do a makeup on the Wednesday before, or come in on Monday at least, and do it during one of the other classes. Just because we want you to be able to stay with the class. And if you came in and built the day before, it's still squishy and now you have nothing to do in your next class. Every class is different based on when they're building and when they're painting, and every class is different. Both studios are different based on when the makeups are. So it's not always cut and dry where I can say, if you're missing week 2, come the week before. It's not always that way. But if you're going to miss classes, I usually send a missed class email, and I'll try to say like what would be the best solution so that you're still on track for this month. Like I said, it's just that one division between when we build and when we paint. We just need time to dry it. All right. Heads up on that, I guess. There's nothing you need to do, just a heads up. Okay, people. Last one, the ending slide. Hope everybody has a wonderful first week of October. I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to some great fall temps at the end of the week. We'll probably freeze at a football game, but it'll be worth it. Have a good rest of it. I'll see you later.